You and me, I'll follow you to the end. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. And I'm always slacking. I'm always slacking. But we're live. We're live. You talk about No, we're live, man. We're live. We're not gonna make the people wait. We're not gonna make the people wait. No, we're gonna get into it. You look like you're about to go commit acts of some kind. It's fine. I'm not saying they could be devious acts. They could be acts of kindness. I'm just saying, or you are for the radio visual trying to do your best impersonation of Assassin's Creed. Because I know you're such a fan of that profile. There you go. Nope. It's all right. All good. All good, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another radio visual. It does. It does. Oh yeah, baby. Yep. Hattie. Yo.
About this week, Eric?
Do it again. I can't hear you.
What are you talking about this week?
We are no.
What are we talking about?
Do the intro again.
Oh, did you not have my audio in again?
No, I don't know what was going on. It was there. I don't know why it's not going. Could you hear him now, Lub or Skiwi?
He said there we go.
Okay, that's weird. Do it again.
Yeah.
Skiwi's forgiven. I don't know what happened that time.
No, you're good. We'll start over. Welcome to another episode of Bounty Board. Everyone who's watching, sorry if you couldn't hear my audio before. It looked like I was talking and you just couldn't hear anything. It's August 23rd. It's a Friday. It's 11:08 here in the Midwest. Eric, you're in the Midwest too, right?
I mean, I'm not in the Midwest. I'm in Texas.
You're in the Central Time Zone, is what I meant.
I'm in Texas. Don't lump me in with the Midwest.
Ugh, no one wants to get lumped in with the Midwest. Literally, no one wants to get lumped in the Midwest. Anyway, we're in the middle of Gamescom, right? Gamescom still got a couple days.
Yeah.
Maybe one more day.
Yeah.
And then we also have PAX Prime, PAX West coming up here next weekend, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the season of games starts. Spider-Man's like 14 days away.
It is upon us. Spider-Man, and then I was watching an interview with the infamous or famous, depending on your love for Destiny, DJ over there, their community manager. And
yeah.
Every time, I see something or watch that guy talk, it kind of gives me a little bit of itch to say, maybe I'll hop back in. And then I walk away from my computer and I think about it and I go, nope, it's Destiny. Not happening.
Interesting. See, I don't know. I guess too optimistic, and I'm gonna give Forsaken a chance, just because I know that they did a lot of work to get, the community involved in giving them feedback for how to improve it, and they said that this is where it's all gonna come to fruition. So I want to see if they actually listened.
I may give
this is like their last chance, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I said that 2 chances ago.
I said that right before Taken King, so don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
they've gotten more chances than I think they've earned.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait to see the Discord group, what they say, and then of course.
Oh, that's so unreliable.
They're completely biased, and then I'm gonna go
100%.
get some unbiased opinions, and I'm gonna let it ride. I don't know how I feel. I don't know if I want to drop the $60 on or however much it is for the expansion.
Yeah, it's not an expansion price. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, which I understand why it's cost that much from the business standpoint, but it's like, guys, you've you've promised the world so many times and then not delivered, and now you're promising the world again for what feels like Square Enix did with the original release, or between the original release of Final Fantasy XIV and the re-release where it was a new game. And I got to see, is it actually a new game?
Yeah, we'll see, right?
But by the time I get into that and I see what people are doing and watch some streams and, watching people having fun with it, it's going to be, Forza's going to be out. Forza's going to be out, and then it's
going to have a lot to compete with, and it gets hot quick, right? Yeah. Like it's not like they're going to have like a month and a half to give people a chance to figure out if they like it. They've got about 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it's not hot. Yeah. I mean, it is smoldering with the amount of releases. Yeah. And I was watching all the stuff out of Gamescom. I made a point to watch the 3 games. Not much on Red Dead, but it's coming out of Gamescom. But Battlefield 5, there was plenty to watch.
Lots.
We've got the open beta coming first week of September.
September 6th.
Yep. September 4th if you did the pre-order. So I'm gonna probably pre-order that next week, just to check it off the list. And then I watched a bunch of Darksiders 3 gameplay. All about that Fury. I was excited to see in this gameplay that War and Death actually make an appearance as NPCs in the game.
Nice.
So there's a conversation between the 3, which makes me super excited for the next.
When are we going to see Strife?
Yeah, hopefully we see Strife in this game at some point, and then I'm super excited for what that game holds.
Yeah, I'm excited for the possibility that it sells well enough that a sequel will be a no doubter instead of it selling mediocrely and us being like, man, I hope THQ Nordic sticks with it.
Nah, I think they will. I think the fourth one of those games is the third. All of them have done well for what they are. They set THQ Nordic is good at setting expectations for, game sales. I don't think they're overextending themselves with marketing and, budgeting and setting unrealistic expectations. From what I've seen, I think there's enough love of the second game, and I think that the re-releases of both of them, the enhanced versions, and then them being featured on Game Pass now has kind of spoken to that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chat's given us no love for Destiny though. For those of you listening to the audio only version, not liking it.
Yeah, no. The one of the comments was that after about 3 weeks of Destiny 2's release, that was it, and they didn't come back. And I wasn't that fast. I got 3 characters to max level and did a bunch of end game shit. So I probably played it until like.
It was the Osiris expansion that lost me.
What was the first one?
It's not even that. I don't even remember.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
that's weird. Yeah, that's a good sign that the game didn't stick when you don't remember the name of the first expansion.
Right.
Osiris and. Oh no, Osiris was the first one. Rasputin, the Warmind, was the second one.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's but this isn't. But this podcast isn't about Destiny this week. That's okay. We did talk about games getting second chances though, and maybe Destiny is about to have their second chance. But we'll see.
I lost count of the seconds there.
Yeah, I wasn't even counting. I just kept saying them because I knew I wouldn't run out of seconds before I made my point.
I think you're at like 5. So.
I mean, that's a lot.
Quintuple chance.
Yeah, they're quintupleth.
Yeah,
that's a dumbass word.
Yeah, I mean, Destiny was a game that we could have talked a little bit more about on our Second Chances podcast, but it's yet to get it. I think we'll see it. There's just too much coming out. We got a bunch. Gamescom. Even though there wasn't a lot of new announcements out of Microsoft, we were expecting to see. I was expecting to see the Elite Controller 2.0. I didn't see that.
Weird that didn't happen.
No, that's fine. I mean, PAX West, I think would be a good. I think.
It's in their hometown.
It's right in their backyard, and they didn't do a press conference, right? They just did a live stream from around Gamescom. Which I think is always cool. It's a little bit weird the way some of those things get forced, but I'll tell you what we did get. We got a really good look at Sekiro.
Yes.
Whatever Die Twice.
Shadows Die Twice.
Holy shit, that game looks just amazing.
I haven't I haven't played a From Software game. I haven't played any of the Dark Souls or
So
Bloodborne.
the interesting thing is everybody that played it said they had to like erase everything that they learned
Yep.
from
Yep.
Bloodborne and from the Dark Souls game, because it is a very much a where those games are set up on dodging and countering. This game looks much more on you are the one initiating it because you are hell bent on killing everything in your path, type of game,
Yeah.
which I think is awesome.
Less defensive, more
Yeah,
offensive.
I was excited to see some of the stealth elements that they
Mm-hmm.
showed off.
Mm-hmm.
So at least you can kind of ninja it up a little bit, which looks cool.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
Tyler Blevins it up,
yeah.
or okay.
No, not Tyler Blevins it up, like
You
actual
know, I just had
actual
to.
ninja.
Wait, he's not a real ninja?
Uh maybe
I'm confused now.
he might be.
What if he is? Like, let's stop for a second.
He just
What if
appears.
he is?
He appears behind
Yeah.
both of us simultaneously, Naruto style.
Ooh.
God, that would be awesome,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
For like a split second, I'd be like, oh my God. And then obviously we would die. So,
We'd either die or he'd just disappear. I'm hoping for the latter.
Yeah, the latter would be the one I would put my money into. But we've done a lot of chatting. Let's move into the news. What do you think about that?
All right. I thought that's what we were
Cool.
doing.
Well, I mean, we got distracted. We got distracted talking about Destiny. So I guess to carry over, it's called a segue, my friends.
Oh,
Destiny 2's Forsaken raid. So Destiny 2 Forsaken's raid will go live the week after the expansion's launch, which isn't
makes
out
sense.
of character for them. They normally give players about a week to get through the story and such to launch the raid, so people don't see this thing that's at the end of a rope they can't reach.
Well, yeah, and you got to get the light level too. It's kind of worthless to have a raid there that when you don't even have a player base that can achieve it.
Yeah, it's gonna be the biggest raid they've ever had. The new raid takes place in the mysterious Dreaming City. It will be released September 14th at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So for people in Central, that is noon, and for people on the West Coast, that is 10.
That's such a weird Final Fantasy-esque name for.
Oh, Dreaming City, yeah, absolutely. It's a really non-characteristic name for Destiny, but I'm down with it. Whatever,
but
it's cool.
With that, this is supposed to be the non-characteristic expansion.
Yeah, exactly. They're just leaning into it at this point.
So we'll see.
Yeah. The article I'm reading from is from Polygon, written by Ryan Gilliam. Last thing I'll read from it is that the senior raid designer Joe Blackburn said that players are going to need more than the usual 3 days to prepare, and that the team at Bungie wanted to be sure the community had an opportunity to experience the full expansion before slamming into the hardest content.
All right.
Yeah. So there's rumors all around that. If you're a Destiny fan, if you're steeped in the lore, as they say, there's some rumors going around that you might be fighting an actual Ahamkara, which are like these giant dragons that are discussed in the games, and there's armor based on their bones, but you've never seen one because they've been dead for a long time.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff cycling around. It'll be interesting to see what actually happens. Moving on with news. This one, most of this stuff's from Polygon. Sorry, it's just the site that has their news easiest to access. This one from Polygon, written by Owen S. Good. Rocket League's progression update launches next week. So there's going to be overhauls, and it's going to overhaul XP, remove the level cap, and Rocket Pass will follow a week later. That's exciting.
That is exciting.
Yeah. The update for the progression system and XP will roll out to all platforms on August 29th. 1 week later, the introduction of Rocket Pass. Both the XP and the system, both the new XP system and the $9.99 Rocket Pass were announced in June as coming, but now we have dates for them. Do you play much Rocket League?
No.
Shame on you.
Yeah, I know. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad person. I play it every now and then with you guys. Sorry, I got a text right when that came in and it distracted me. Hopefully that didn't come through on the audio. But I enjoy it. I have never put enough time in it to get good at it, which that's the type of game that you have to you can't just pick up and play like shooters are for me. I can pick them up and play them, and the basic mechanics are left trigger, right trigger, or left right mouse button, left mouse button, and that game has a whole three-dimensional aspect that my old ass brain just doesn't get around, and I don't have the time to practice to be on the level that you are, and then a couple of the other guys that we play with.
I'm touched. Thank you.
I dig it. I like watching it, and I think that we'll get back to that in our topic for the night, because I think that's going to come. That game specifically is going to come up a lot.
Yes, it will.
But yeah, I think I love watching it because it is intense and it is fun to watch, and just knowing the mechanics of that game, it's like, oh, holy shit, how did that guy pull that off? In that style.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that, I mean, I've been playing for a long time, and there's a lot of stuff I see that I'm like, man, why can't I figure that out? It's just, it's so much. It's a lot of practice. It's one of the only games that like genuinely needs you to practice on your own.
Yeah.
Because doing it in a game, like, there's just not enough situations where you will, get a chance to try it. Mm-hmm. And even if you get 2 or 3, that's not practice, right? That's like, oh, I'm going to try it. Oh, I'm going to try it again. I'm going to try this different thing because of the 2 things I failed. You know what I mean? Like, it's not enough. And I've watched streams of guys that like for 3 hours of their stream, they're just in the training arena, just practicing.
Yeah. They're just, kicking the ball around, launching the ball, just like you would watch an actual athlete train.
Exactly. It's amazing.
I think
I probably should have read this last because it's a good transition.
It is a good transition, but we'll come back to it.
We'll come back to it. Next news article, also out of Polygon, last one, I promise, by Michael McWhorter. This one is that Assassin's Creed skipping next year. Did you hear about this?
I did. I think that's great.
Yeah. So Yves Guillemot, the CEO of Ubisoft, said we're not going to have a full-fledged Assassins next year, and explained that instead the publisher will focus its efforts on developing new content for Odyssey, which is scheduled for release on October 5th. Can't wait. What this sounds like to me, and what I've heard from some other people talking around GDC and Ubisoft execs talking, is that they're going to try and support Odyssey with 2 years worth of content, which is fucking bananas. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know if that's exactly what they mean when they say that they're just going to focus their efforts on developing new content for Odyssey, but it does seem like that's one of the only conclusions someone can draw.
Well, I think if any time period has the content to support it,
sure,
it is that
right. You could fight
time period.
So many.
You can go. I mean, depending on where you launch into that, the exact year. I mean, you could go. You could go to Sparta. You could go. I mean, it's just the amount of stories and history and mythical lore that they have there, especially if they end up doing something like they did in Origins, where you're going and like fighting the gods. Fighting the mythical creatures.
So many things they can do.
So many.
Assassin's Creed God of War.
Yeah, so many things that you can do. But that's my one fear for that, right? Is how much is that going to play out? Because we've already done that, right? We've already slayed all of them 100 times. Yeah. So we'll see. But I think it's smart of Ubisoft to take a year off. I think that did wonders for this franchise with Origins.
Origins was outstanding.
Yeah, because that game came back and it kind of reinvigorated my dormant love for that franchise.
Yeah, how many hours did you sink into Origins?
I mean, probably 100, 120. I'd have to go back and look, but yeah, it was definitely in the 3-figure mark.
That's a lot of time to throw into an Assassin's Creed, which like those are games that have pretty historically been like 25 to 30 hour games if you just do stuff. I mean, I've always played them a little bit to the point of nausea. I did everything in Black Flag because that game was fucking outstanding, which, fun fact for anybody who didn't know, Black Flag and Origins were made by the same creative director.
Yep.
So if the next Assassin's Creed is done by Ashraf Ismail, it's going to be good.
Hopefully they're keeping that dude around because... Yeah,
I don't think Ash is going to have to worry about his job anytime soon.
Yeah, he's good. I like how you refer to him as Ash.
Yeah, a lot of people do it. I don't do it because I know him personally or anything. I just do it because like when I listen to podcasts that he's on, that's how he That's what he answers
That's
to.
how he likes to be referred to, as Ash.
Yeah, Ash.
Got it.
Yeah, man. And then we're gonna move on to the last news article. This one from Mashable, written by Kellen Beck. Microsoft reportedly to offer Xbox One consoles and services as a subscription. This is one of the most interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
So they're quoting Verge. So I'm quoting Mashable, who's quoting The Verge, but you get the point.
I get the point.
According to Verge, per Mashable, the Xbox All Access subscription for an Xbox One X, the more expensive of the Xbox lineup, would be $35 a month for 2 years, and an Xbox One S would be $22 a month. So essentially, what we're seeing is you would get a year's worth of Xbox Live, a year's worth of Game Pass, and a system. Work that out over 2 years, and you're essentially doing the same thing we do right now with cell phones. You're financing your phone. You're financing your Xbox and the experience.
Yep.
So after 24 months, it seems people have done the math. It says that you'd save about $3 each month with Xbox All Access, as opposed to just buying it and paying for the 2 subscriptions, which, like, it's not a ton, but like,
yeah, the one thing that scares the shit out of me in that deal is just the subscription future that we're already living in, right? I mean, it's now becoming to the point where, I mean, you've got a subscription that delivers groceries, you've got a subscription that you listen to music on, it's just getting to the point where, and I know that, my wife and I sit down at the first of the month, and we rake through the budget, and we take care of it, and we have a bucket of dollars that is subscriptions, right? And so that bucket, and I know that's where we're going to in the cloud, but the thing that scares the shit out of me a little bit more there is now all of a sudden if you get one of these systems, how is the financing going to work? Are they going to lock you into a contract? And the scarier thing is once the carriers pick up on this and they say, oh, you want to get on an Xbox, you come over to us, and we'll give you internet in that bundled price for a 2-year contract. And it's kind of a scary future environment. If we'll have to see how it plans out, but I'm not sure how I feel about it. Do I think it's a smart move to get more people into the ecosystem and give them a way to do it?
Sure.
I'm just of the firm mindset that if you don't have the cash to buy it, don't go and spend be taking dollars out of your bank account every month to get something.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think that, like, when you think about the fact that this is, I don't know, man. I think it's one of those things that we'll see, just like phones, where there's a good portion of people that finance them. There's also a good portion of people that just buy their phone.
Yeah.
And so I don't think this is going to exactly, like, sweepingly, take over the market and how it works. But I do think it's a good way to get people that don't have the ability normally to put together,
it's roughly $1,000.
500, like $1,000 over 2 years, right? Is it though?
No, well, if you think about it, the initial investment, so if you think about it, you're buying your kid a system for Christmas, right? You go to the store, you got $400. Yeah, you got $400 on the unit itself that comes with one controller. Well, you got 2 kids, now you got to buy another controller at $60 to $100.
And games,
and then you got to buy a couple games, and then you've got the Xbox Live subscription or the PlayStation Plus subscription, because you can't access any of the content without that subscription.
So that's a good point.
It becomes
a good point. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it becomes an interesting thing. And does it alleviate that upfront cost and lower the barrier to entry? Sure, it does. But I again, like I said, it's just personal preference. It's just one of those things where, in a time where I think, and this is more of a cultural, reference, where I think, kids are coming up not understanding, and I'm decisively old school in this and showing my age a little bit, where they don't respect the value of $1. It gives them a way to find another thing to take money out of their pocket that they could be putting somewhere. And I'm not advocating that don't play games and don't buy a system if you have it. I just think it's a slippery slope to dance on, from a cultural standpoint.
So how do you think they would enforce? So I just realized while you were talking, I don't know what happened if I were to stop paying my phone bill.
Jude Law would show up Repo Man style and
oh no,
take it from you.
I hope it's not in my back pocket. He's gonna cut my butt off.
He's gonna take a kidney while he's there. Sorry to bring that movie was ridiculous.
That's dark. It's real dark. Real dark.
Yeah.
No, but like if I were to stop paying the phone portion of my bill, right, or just stop paying it altogether, if I'm financing that phone, like technically, if you stop paying for it, obviously that's illegal, and like there's obviously like ways law enforcement can get involved. But in the specific circumstances of this, like Xbox system that they're talking about, not like the physical console, but like the plan of action they're talking about implementing, how would you prevent people from just like taking home an Xbox and then buying Xbox Live?
Well, I think that becomes a question of, the second that IP comes online, it is blocked.
It's locked.
Yeah, it's locked. It's locked from it's locked from the server, or there's some sort of kill on the console that just shuts it down until you pay your, I mean, that's what I was getting at. It's very kind of,
yeah, that sounds
it's very very Orwellian, 1984-esque on the control that the control that we sometimes give up. And I don't want to take this down the black helicopters theory, but there's a lot of looking down and not seeing what's going on around you, and I think this is just another connection to that dystopian future. Sure.
I put a hoodie on because I had my windows open, and it's like 60 in St. Louis right now. It's like 50 degrees.
Ooh.
But I had to shut my windows because the crickets were so fucking loud. Now I'm hot. So I have to take off my hoodie, and you have to see that I'm still wearing a shirt with an Apple logo on it, but
it's all right.
It's okay.
I don't think that's
it's nice outside. It's just it's amazing outside.
You can
in the hot.
I love the hot. I love the hot down here. The 60's too cold for me. I'd be bundled up in a hoodie.
Woof. That you are a fortunate flower, my friend.
That's why I live in one of the hottest states in the union.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I love hot. But I also like to be able to wear my hoodies and my jeans without walking outside and turning into a sweaty bratwurst.
Right. I also have the distinct advantage of, working from home, blessed enough for that to be a reality. So this is my work outfit, so I don't have to do much. And for those of you who can't see my lower body, and I'll describe it, I have a pair of gray athletic shorts on. So.
Oh, I thought you were going to describe like the physical shape. Yep. For those of you who can't see the lower half of my body, let me describe it for you. 2 toothpicks.
It's very muscular.
Sure, say it all you want. You're probably wearing boxers right now, just because, like like a newscaster, you've got the upper half made up and the bottom half's just I don't give a fuck.
I actually don't have pants on at all.
I feel so emotionally confused about that.
All right, moving on. Let's get into it.
Moving on. So we've gotten through the news. We talked about Rocket League a little bit earlier, and Eric, you said that it would be brought back up in this conversation.
Yep.
Why is that? What are we going to be talking about?
Because we are, if you're playing the at-home game and you've checked out the stream because of the title of it, we are sporting at E-Style tonight and talking about esports. And everything about it. And I think Rocket League is one of those games that
why isn't it bigger?
Is not that why is it bigger, but I think Rocket League is one of those games that we're going to see over the next couple of years become a staple in the history books of the transition to the esports world and its rise, because it is a team-based sport that already relates to a very
like actual sports watchers.
Very actual sports watchers.
Ooh, can I redact that statement?
Nope.
I don't mean actual sports. I meant physical sport. You know what I meant?
Yeah. No.
Esports are actual sports too. But I meant
there's a relation there, and that's an interesting topic that comes up line. And there was a Real Sports that show on HBO with Bryant Gumbel, and I'm not a huge sports guy outside of my bubble, because I grew up playing lacrosse, so that's still, kind of that's got a weird space in this country still. And on the world stage, I enjoy football for what it is. I'm not the biggest football fan. I enjoy baseball.
Hang on, correction: American football or football?
Both.
Which one do you like more? Because it'll impact our friendship.
Football.
Wait, which one?
You're
an asshole.
I'm just going to leave it at football.
Okay, well, that's good.
I like soccer more than I do American football.
Oh, okay.
There we
So
go.
do I. So do I.
Yeah, yeah. But with that said, I think Rocket League is one of those esports that bridges that gap very nice. It's very easy to announce for it. It's very easy for somebody to listen to and pick up what's going on.
Yeah.
And understand the team dynamic. Now, there's a couple of rule sets and things like that. But the other thing about it that esports lacks a lot of times, especially when you're, I'm sitting there and sometimes I'll turn Twitch on, while I'm folding laundry or doing, cleaning the house and watch whatever competition's there. And, my wife's like, I don't understand how you watch it. Where that,
it's because it's great.
But that's most of the time I'm watching like a League of Legends or a Smite, or I'm watching a game that I understand the meta, and we'll talk about those from an economic standpoint. But I think Rocket League is very simple to understand, and it's got that excitement factor that games like Dota, League, they don't have for the common audience. Like when somebody makes a hell of a play and you see it set up, it's
it makes sense like instantly.
It's like 3 touches, goal, fireworks are going off, cars are flying all over the damn arena. And then you're sitting there going, oh, holy shit, that was awesome.
No, that's one of the things that I realized in watching the Overwatch League championships is that like I loved it because I got it.
Right.
But if you walked into that, you would probably just be like, nope, this doesn't make sense. Gotta go.
Yeah.
The shoutcasters are talking so fast. There's fucking 10 screens to figure out like what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean like you have to look at all of them at once, but if they're switching between panels, it's hard to follow that shit. The colors are confusing. But when you're watching Rocket League, it's 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3. And like it plays like a sport because it is. It's just FIFA with cars. It's just soccer with cars. And so I'm a little confused why Rocket League hasn't been bigger in esports already, just because it seems like it has such an easy transition from tournaments that are a little bit niche and not a ton of people get into to like being on ESPN and people watching, the Rocket League National or the Rocket League World Championships on big screens at Buffalo Wild Wings. Like I would do that. Yeah, that's my dream. That's my dream, to someday go get a basket of 20 wings and fries and just sit and watch Rocket League drinking a beer at a bar. Like that sounds amazing to me. So why hasn't that happened?
Well, I mean, I think we're getting there, right? We're seeing, and I live in Austin, which is a very progressive town in Texas. For those of you outside of it, but
it's Austin and Houston are the ones that care.
Yeah, I was sitting around. With some buddies, and talking about what I was out to. I was actually out at a networking event for my real life job, and I ended up meeting a guy here in town that is friends with somebody that is actually seeking investors to open a bar in town that they're going to call Rekt Esports Bar, REKT. And that is that's going to be the whole premise of the bar. So I think as we start growing, and if you watch CNBC or NBC Financial, or pay attention to any of these things, like that is what everybody is watching right now, is the esports market. You've got guys like Mark Cuban get into it. You've got Rick Fox with Echo Fox.
His own team.
He owns that team. And then you've got this. The nice thing about an esports team is all you need is a group of guys and the willingness to do it, right? There's no barrier to entry. There's no training camps. There's no, you got to get, a college recruiter's eyes. You got to get YouTube videos and such like that. If you have the will to play an esport and you are good at the game, everything you need is right there in the palms of your hands, whether it's a controller or right there with a mouse and keyboard. And you get online and you climb those leaderboards, and you're going to get some recognition, and then you start streaming or putting that out there. So I think as it gets better, it's going to be very interesting over the next couple of years. And I was watching, I can't remember what the newscast was or who the sports announcer's name was, but it was one of the financial shows. I think it was Money Talk, and the guy was an ex-sports announcer, and he was talking about how that is the biggest thing to watch over the next 5 years, because the investment opportunity is just insane in all facets of it. The services side, the talent and agency side, the announcing side, and I think it's one of those things that's just going to drive the economy in a new way, and is open to everyone, right? If you can't bench press your body weight, get outside more, do some push-ups, but then just to make sure you're physically healthy, but you're able to compete in an arena where you're playing a 400-pound dude. The interesting thing to me is the esports that everybody's paying attention to and are the biggest esports in the world have nothing to do with the real sports, right? Like, I don't see nearly.
That's why that's the funny. Strange to me.
Yeah, not. And when I say real sports, I mean like the sports, quote unquote, simulation games, the Maddens, the FIFAs. I don't see nearly as much coverage on those world championships, which you think would be a relatively low hanging fruit for the ESPN.
I think that they're not popular because they're low hanging fruit, right? Like, why watch someone play video game football when like actual football season's a month and a half away?
Right. I think that's a great point. I just think for somebody like an ESPN to pick something up, it's a much easier transition to take that, and you've got a much bigger hype potential around those types of games, because then you bring the real athletes in, to create hype and to create, buzz around it. But you're seeing like Overwatch, you're seeing the Dotas and the leagues, the Rocket Leagues, the CS championships, the PUBGs get the play on the front line.
I think those games would be a lot easier to parse if they figured out how to more adequately present them. Right.
I agree. And that goes back to your point about the Overwatch championships, right? It's so hard for somebody to walk into that, and we touched on it, I think it was a couple episodes ago. We briefly touched on this subject, but it's one of those things where if you were somebody who doesn't play video games and you go out to one of these events because friends going, or maybe somebody you're dating is going, and they say, hey, we're going to go do this, it'll be fun. You're watching these things and your brain is overloading because you're not sure what's going on. There's a meta there, which I think is an interesting, as technology becomes better, we're going to see a lot of improvements in that spectating world, and as people start getting better at casting those types of things, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting. Before we get too far into just talking about Rocket League specifically, and like only for this entire podcast, which I'm totally okay with, but I did want to branch out. Before we kept going though, I did want to bring up an article. This isn't news, but it's something I think that's worth reading through. Did you read any Waypoint at all?
I do. I did not. I don't think I saw the article you're talking about though.
Did you see the article by Patrick Klepek about Duncan Shields, the esports guy that does Counter-Strike? So this is probably part of a bigger conversation that we can have a part of here, and we can probably go into further depth, later. But essentially, Klepek did a very little amount of digging, because you don't have to do much. That was prompted by this guy, Duncan Thorin Shields, coming to Alex Jones's defense after being removed from all, like, what was it, iTunes, YouTube,
right?
Not Netflix. There's no way. Anyway, this dude came to his defense, and he was like, "Interesting. What does this guy think about other things?" And found just a litany of like racist, sexist, just bad stuff. And the reason I felt like bringing that up is I think it's something that's kind of plaguing esports in a way that not many people see. And that's that, like, people don't take it seriously enough. And some people take it way too seriously. But the people that have a hard time taking esports seriously, I think, see this shit and go, oh, well, it's just gamers.
Yeah, and I think that's unfortunate, right? Because the same type of shit goes on in the NFL. Mm-hmm. It goes on in every major sport. The difference is these esports guys, they don't have PR people, unless they're on a team, right? They don't have PR people watching their backs. They don't have a team of handlers and fixers, that make shit go away for them.
No, these guys just say something on Twitter and then there's no one to tell them like, yo, you should shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And so they just keep going.
Yeah, and they just keep going, and they dig their own grave. And I think that's that's something that is a growing pain, right? And it's getting harder and harder and harder. And
games are in their teenage years right now, right? Where before your kid's a teen, you do everything you can to love them, and then when they become a teenager, they do everything they can to make sure you can't love them.
Yeah, and then when they get to their early 20s, they just do a bunch of really stupid shit. So I think that's a totally much, like you said, it's a much deeper conversation. I don't know if we want to walk down this path. I think it's a dangerous slope of the mob mentality taking over that is social media these days. Like, you make one wrong step on social media, you're going to get crucified by the mob, regardless of what your intention is. And then all of a sudden, because you've chosen to live in a public life and have any type of spotlight, you're immediately scrutinized. And that's something no generation has had to grow up with before. Social media is in such a weird place right now because they keep, all these services keep pointing back to, well, we banned this person because it's against terms of service, right? Well, it is, but your whole platform is based around sharing ideas and commonalities and finding groups that you like. And we talked about the echo chamber a while ago, and I don't want to get back into that. But I think it's again, I'll point right back to 1984, right? It's a very, very Orwellian future where a few things are controlled and how the message gets out is dictated. Do I agree?
But it wasn't the government, though. It was Apple. It was Apple.
Right, I agree. And that, I think,
the government.
I understand. But that's even more dangerous because now you have private institution dictating flow of culture, which is, shit. Blade Runner. I was trying to find a pop culture reference where one company runs everything, and that was the first one that popped into my head. The Tyrell Corporation.
Yeah, or Wayland Yutani from Alien Universe.
Exactly. You get these mega corporations that control all messaging and the stuff like that. But I don't want to walk down this path. I think it's something that will evolve and grow up as esports gets better and it gets more inclusive. I think esports has a much, and we're always going to have bad apples at every bunch, no matter how you look at it. But I think,
can I challenge you on that real quick?
Yes. By all means.
Don't use the phrase "bad apples."
Why?
It's a pet peeve of mine because the actual quote is that a few bad apples spoils the bunch. So when people are like, "It's a few bad apples," I'm always like, "Yeah, you need to fucking get rid of them because a few bad apples makes everything bad."
Right.
That's the actual quote.
Right.
Sorry, I'm an English major. If people didn't already know, so when people say use English,
no, I get it. But my point is
that's it.
My point is I think
you're saying it's a vocal minority.
Yeah,
it's a few bad actors.
Yeah, it's a vocal minority that usually gets the most attention, which is unfortunate. But if you look at gaming as a community and as a whole, right, the vast overwhelming majority of gamers are not as toxic as everybody says they are. Yes, there is a shit ton of toxicity, and there is an awful when you look at the pains that female streamers and female gamers still go through on the competition landscape. Like, I'm waiting for the day. I want to see the first all women's team go into one of these championships or a mixed team. There's no reason for it, right? The proclivity is still, though, that, because of the culture, once you find out that there's a woman on the other end, it just becomes this open gate of, oh, well, I'm just going to talk shit to this person in the most demeaning way possible.
Oh, it's so bad.
And it's just
so bad.
And it's awful. But I think once we start breaking that barrier down a little bit, and we start seeing those teams rise up because they are out there, that's going to wash away a little bit. And I don't think that's an interesting topic, an interesting point on esports too, is I don't remember I think I was on Reddit where I was reading a conversation thread about should there be separate leagues for
like a women's Overwatch league
like
and
a women's
Overwatch
and a male's Overwatch league. And I was thinking about it and I was going, No, absolutely not.
No, not at all.
No, because it's there. If there's any sports league where that is achievable, I think it is absolutely esports.
It's esports,
because it's not about physical strength; it's about virtual strength. And your will to succeed and practice and get good at it, which everybody has that capacity if they want to work for it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Sorry that I made the beginning part of our conversation about sports veer into the political spectrum. It's just something that it's going around a lot.
As I was thinking about this topic, since we started talking about it on Monday or Tuesday, whenever we brought it up, I had a feeling this is exactly where the conversation was going to lead. Right? When you talk about these types of things, it's inevitable that you get into this because sports, no matter how you look at it, is very political in its nature, right? Look at everything that's going on in the NFL right now.
Sure.
Look at everything that's going on with just sports in general, right? And in the country. And I think that boils over to the esports arena. And esports is not immune from it. It's not a utopian future where everybody gets along and everybody's happy. Sports breeds competition. And I think going back to your original point that got us on this rant is, do people, and now I lost my train of thought. No, I was like, do people look and take esports seriously right now? No, they don't, because every now and then the only news that gets play and the only things that get reporting is
a bunch of assholes.
Are the assholes, right? The guys that have a bunch of they tweet a bunch of dumb shit. They look at a bunch of dumb shit that just doesn't have a place anymore in the world. As far as I'm concerned, but ultimately, is that going to go away? I think as more organizations form. I'm looking at esports right now as wrestling in the 70s, right? If you think about it, there was in the late 60s, early 70s, there was all these different divisions, right? And I was watching, I don't know if you haven't watched it yet, the Andre the Giant documentary that HBO did.
I haven't watched it yet, no.
Absolutely phenomenal. And you should go watch it. But it was really interesting to watch this guy who would literally clean up and just go from wrestling region to wrestling region and just sell out stadiums, because all of a sudden there is this beast of a man that by all accounts and purposes should have never existed.
Anybody want the peanut?
Yep. Fezzik.
Oh man.
But and he would watch that, and I think that's where we are with esports right now, because there is no centralized governing body that's giving you a rule set and moniker of way for people to act.
There's not.
There is Evo, and then there is all these fragmented tournaments, and I'm not saying those are bad things, but there's no overarching body of an overarching governing body that's saying, hey, in order for you to have a team, your team must adhere to these standards. Your team must adhere to this. You hear all types of horror stories about guys who are on esports teams that are just not doing that. I think Rick Fox does it best, because I was watching an interview with the Echo Fox guys, and they were talking about how Rick makes them, or it's a requirement that they get up and exercise. That's the first, before they even start playing, they've got to get up and exercise. And they're all bought into that mindset. I think that comes from an owner having that background, right? That Rick Fox has. Not all the esports owners have that. But yeah, I think as this industry starts to mature more, and we get some sort of overarching governing body that says these are the fundamentals that you'll adhere to if you are an esports organization.
Yep.
Go.
No, yeah, we need essentially what you're saying, what wrestling did, what was it? Was it football that also did it? Basketball, more notably.
So we need
a bunch of different leagues with different rules and different setups and different ways they do the damn thing. And I think it's encouraging that right now in the game community, there's a lot of people talking about Unity, right? And I don't mean the programming engine, and I also don't mean the Assassin's Creed game. I mean straight up face to face, Unity. There's the conversations. A couple of years ago, we had the voice actors strike, right? Because they wanted studios to protect them a little bit better, and they want, what I mean? The voice actors came together and were like, we're gonna go on strike for this because this is something we need fixed. And then now you've got man, you rubbed off on me. Now my trains of thought are just like landing in different stations. No, it's just a community that's trying hard to be in one spot, right? And so like you've got, oh, that was what it was. So you had the voice actors strike. You've got people bringing up unionization like crazy across the board, and this is all, you know, game development side of things, right? But game developers are trying to get unions to protect them so that they can do stuff. So they're coming together to do that. We're having a huge conversation about crossplay because everyone just wants to fucking play together. And so I think
that was actually,
that's a big.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish. No, go ahead.
Finish. No. I think that's a big point into what might make esports successful. And I think you're right. I think putting together an organization that puts on all the tournaments, right? Call it the Evo tournament, but like it's put together by United States Esports Association, right?
It doesn't even have to be one governing body, right? There's not one governing body that manages all of the sports, you know, globally, right? There's the NFL, you know, there's the NFL Players Association,
like game specific.
Yeah, they're game specific. Because I don't necessarily think a fighting game standard is going to, you know, the National Boxing Association has a set of requirements for boxers, right? The MMA has a set of requirements for boxers. You know, I think it lends itself to that. There just needs to be some standardization on, you know, you've got guys that run teams and start teams that are, you know, in their, you know, their 20s and their 30s, and they're still in that brash, just I'm going to say whatever the fuck I want phase, and the rest of the world can burn. And you know, they're getting.
Well, that's what happens when you're in your 30s and you get the dream job,
right? You know,
working in games.
Yeah, you get to play video games for a living, and you get to stand around and extensively say, "I'm a coach for an esports team." But I think it's a matter of, and going back to your point there, I don't want to, you know, harp on cloud gaming and, you know, cross-platform play again, but that, I think that is the first step to the quote unquote governing body, right? Is
sure.
you will have, you know, with the next generation of consoles. I don't know if we brought it up last week, but I think it happened in between podcasts where Bethesda essentially told Sony to kick rocks. We're not releasing this shit. You know, the next Elder Scrolls will not be on your console unless there's cross-platform play, right?
Oh, they didn't say that. They weren't that bold.
Or no, what was it? It was the card game. Sorry, not.
It was their card game. Yeah. If Bethesda was like Elder Scrolls will not be on PlayStation if it's not backwards compatible, people would have fucking lost their shit.
Right.
We would have had a statement from Sony within 12 hours.
Right. But you know, I think that type of drastic measure. But I think as we get as cloud computing and, you know, the networks improve and, you know, streaming games to any device becomes a thing, that becomes your unifying factor, because now the wars of Sony fanboys, Microsoft fanboys, and the PC Master Race guys, they disappear. Right now,
it's now all of them.
No. We got some very loyal listeners in here that are that. But my point is that becomes your unifying, overarching layer, right, of connecting everyone. Now it doesn't matter if you're the best on Xbox or the best on PlayStation or the best on PC. It just becomes you are part of the best. You are on this leaderboard. You're invited to this tournament. It's a whole different bag of tricks when it comes to when it comes to financing those types of things, because a lot of the tournaments are still very much financed by player buy-in, tournament entry fees, you know, things like that, and then are crowdsourced. And if you look at the Dota, you know, World Championships, that is still there's no financial backing in that. Nobody's putting up a prize. Yes, they're paying for that with sponsors and things like that, but that's all crowd driven, sponsor driven, right? So I think that's an interesting path. And once we get to that sense of complete unity or complete level playing field across all, you know, it's no longer about you're an Xbox fan or a PlayStation fan. I'm a this game fan or this game fan on this console. It plays better here. It just plays. And now you've got the top player over here just because that's the input device that he prefers.
Right.
It's gonna even out, and then give the opportunity for those overarching governing organizations to kind of come in and say, okay, now we have to standardize and say, you know, you can't be a fucknut on Twitter and do dumb shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've talked a lot about some of the things that we think are going to, lead towards esports becoming a bigger thing. But I wanted to talk about what games that exist now. I guess I'll make this two parts. So there's two answers. What game exists now that is not played in an esports environment that you think should be? That's A. That's one.
Ooh.
That's the first. The second is what things do you want to see made as esports? So they're different questions, and I know I worded them poorly. The first one specifically, what exists now that's not played competitively as much as at the esport level that you think should be? The second one is, if you had to make a game yourself and you were specifically making it to be an esport, what elements would you add to it? And I think through that second part of the conversation, we can kind of figure out what we both think, is important to being a successful esport. We should prerequisite this whole part of this conversation by saying neither of us are experts. So if you feel like commenting, please do. We'll work it in.
I played in a Halo tournament or two in my day.
Oh shit! Maybe he's a professional, but no, that's it.
Definitely not.
My mom wouldn't let me go out after dark during Halo tournaments.
Man, I'm just thinking back to when LAN cafes were like starting to become a thing in the States.
So what happened to them? I want them back.
Well, I mean, there's no need for them, right?
Yeah, sure. We do. It's like we didn't just talk about it.
So, God, what game not played? I don't have an answer for that. I think all the genres of games, even single player games, are represented in some way, even speedrunning, right?
Sure.
I think if I had to say anything, I would like to see the live service games start to get a little bit more play, right? I think it would be really interesting because those worlds lend themselves to it. Let's go back to Destiny, for example.
Oh, right? Weird. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Let's go back to Destiny, for example. Destiny has a built-in competitive mode, right? But then it has this overarching world. So now when you add clan support on top of that, now all of a sudden your clan has this unbelievable badass Crucible team, right? So now there's this world that exists where all of a sudden your Guardian enters an arena. So this answers both questions simultaneously. All of a sudden,
oh boy,
all of your your PvP tournaments, right? And this could work for an MMO as well, right? Your PvP tournaments are set up in a way that you walk into an arena and you're now entered. If you're not competing, you're entered into a spectator mode, right? Where you're sitting in this
that's awesome.
This virtual stadium. And this is getting into the VR realm, right? Which is, I 100% see this happening in 10, 15 years once VR takes off. Ready Player One style, where you're actually going into an arena and you're able to spectate in this way. Or maybe there's not even an arena. You just say, I want to spectate.
No, fuck that. I'm not going to an arena. I'm sitting and doing that.
Right. No, you're not going to an arena in the virtual. In the physical, you're going into an arena in the virtual, right?
I thought you meant like people go to an arena and throw on a VR headset.
No.
I was like, no, that's dumb.
You're going into an arena in the virtual, or you're just entering spectator mode for this match, and you're able to fly around the battlefield, and you're listening to the announcer in your ear, but you have a set of controls. I think Destiny could potentially do something like that. I think the really cool thing is now all of a sudden you have the ability with games like Destiny, with games like World of Warcraft, MMOs, stuff like that, to say, okay, now we've got this clan and we have this subset of people that are our tournament team of this clan. So they get special rights to customize their gear. They get a quote unquote jersey. There's special gear that you win in these tournaments. So I think that satisfies both of your questions. Next witness.
It didn't answer the second one. I don't think. Like, if you were gonna make a game, what kind of game do you want to see made esport? Because I think we have enough battle royales. Also, I didn't talk about this earlier, but I love the fact that someone at 343 in an interview, and when asked about battle royale, said the only BR we're concerned with in Halo Infinite is the battle rifle. So good. I'm so down for that. Like, yep. I love. Don't get me wrong. We everyone that listens to this, whether it's live or outside of Twitch, knows that we're huge fans of PUBG, and that we're super excited for what we're gonna get out of Battlefield 5. I was right. Battlefield 5.
Yeah.
I almost said Battlefield 1, and yeah, that's not right.
It works.
But we're super
excited.
Yeah, we're super excited. We're super excited about that stuff.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know what type of game I would create to become an esport. I really don't. If I had to, that's kind of like asking me what my favorite superhero is. Who my favorite superhero is. How do I gauge? What what is important to me in that aspect?
Easy, Batman. There's no question, Batman, because he isn't a superhero.
Right. I would say.
Iron Man, you know what?
Because I like the edge that Tony Stark brings. Yeah. Over.
I mean, they're the same. They're the same guy, just,
right?
Iron Man's not as reserved as Batman.
Right.
That's just because Batman's an introvert sociopath.
Yep.
Real quick, I want to interrupt you. I remember what I was getting at. We love PUBG. We love battle royale modes, and they all super excite us. And like more games talking about it is great, but I don't know if I'm already tired of companies making them, but I'm tired of the idea that everyone needs them. And I think I have to apologize because I think a few podcast episodes ago, I was like, it's going to become a new game mode. I don't know how I feel about that now. You're right. Like, I think it could be a new game mode, but if it was going to be a new game mode, I'm going to adjust my camera because I just adjusted the way I'm sitting. I think it could be a new game mode, but if it's going to be a new game mode, then people need to stop talking about it like it's the new hot shit, because it's not. It's been a thing for about a year now. No, more than a year, like a year and a half now. Which is why I said I was excited about Halo not having Battle Royale.
I don't think it's something that, and we talked about this on the Battle Royale episode, right? I think it's one of those things where is every game going to be served by it? No.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Can games be successful with a Battle Royale mode? Sure they can.
Sure.
But I don't think it's necessarily that. I'm not necessarily tired of the BR mode. I think of all the different types of modes, like if you think about, and going back to taking it back to like Call of Duties, right? Like I hated search and destroy. It was my least favorite mode, because I did not like the way that I didn't like the speed in which the mode was played in a very arcade style Twitch shooter where the whole point is to rack up points, right?
Right.
I like the, if you're going to do something like that, I feel there should be a much more tactical element to it, which is what I like about the BR modes, specifically PUBG, Fortnite with its moment-to-moment gameplay, some of the other ones I've tried. There's a much more tactical element to things where it is, oh shit, I have a mini Uzi, this guy has an AKM. How am I going to approach this situation? Am I going to try and cut through the building? Well, he's going to hear me coming. Am I going to sit in a corner?
Yeah. Get close range. That's the only option you've got.
How am I going to close the distance on this guy? Which I think that moment-to-moment gameplay is much more exciting for me in that game mode. But I agree with you. I don't think every game needs it. Going back to your original question, what type of game
diversions
would I?
Yeah.
Diversions or distractions? I don't know which. A little bit of both.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I would probably say I would create something like what I just talked about, and I know that might seem like a little bit of a cop out, but I would create a shooter that allowed, that kind of has like what Darwin Project does, right? Where it has a rock solid spectator mode that allows for that audience interaction,
Yep.
which I think is what is missing right now, right? Is these tournaments that we watch, specifically with PUBG, Fortnite, any type of shooter game, we're reliant on the caster to show us the moment to moment combat. And there's so many things that are maybe missed, or maybe I don't give a shit about watching anybody play but my favorite streamer, my favorite esports guy, my favorite team. So giving us the ability to have some sort of application that allows you to be there. You can still listen to the cast so you know what's going on, but opening up those spectator tools to the public to allow them to jump in and do that. It would be a shooter for sure. With that type of spectating capability where it's the arena style and walking in and I'm able to watch everything happen.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have to be a shooter, but it's definitely arena style.
Right.
And I'm super with you on that. I don't know if it be as I don't know if it needs to be as interactive as it is the Darwin Project, right? Where like you get to vote. No, you know what? I like votes, but I think it would be great if you're watching an esport version of, we'll say, Darwin Project, just because it's the one that, like you said, is closest to doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you it's just asking a lot, right? And I think that's the issue that esports is running into right now, is to get bigger. I think it needs to ask a bit more of its community than most sports had to get started. But what I was going to say is, it'd be nice if there was a way to integrate cell phones into the crowd's participation, right? Because if you have to, right now you can vote while watching Darwin Project because you can click on it, or you can go over with your controller and do stuff like that. But I think for games like that, and I guess specifically this is just Royale mode stuff, I think viewer interaction is important. And I think the best way to do that would be to literally put it in everyone's hands, right?
Yeah.
Most people look all the way to their phones while they're watching something, like 60% of the time they're watching it. Anyway,
I got a great example of that. Let's take that Beat Shazam show with Jamie Foxx, right?
Yeah.
My wife loves that show because she fires up the Shazam app, it hears the show playing, and then it fires up the at-home version. So now she's actually able to compete with the people on the show and
so good
outpick them with the songs, and it works flawlessly. I've never heard any like it, and my litmus test for this is it works so good that I've never once had to help her figure out something on the app. Right? That's how streamlined that is. And I'm not saying my wife is bless her.
Sure sounded like it, but I knew where you were coming from.
My wife is very much not technically inclined, right? With things.
Yeah.
That's kind of the litmus test that I use is, and I even do this with stuff at work when I'm putting together a technical document. I'll run it past her so she can look at it. And if she understands it, then the people that I work with, the marketers that aren't as technical, will understand it. Because she has no industry knowledge at all in what I do. But yeah, I think I'm with you. I think the more you can get the audience engaged, the faster you get the audience hooked into something that they can participate in as well. But then, sticking with pop culture references, do we end up with the Running Man?
Yeah,
or the Gamer.
Oh no! I think it's just called Gamer, because that sounds like something that. Oh God, Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
It sounds like something Gerard Butler would star in.
He did.
Oh, a movie called Gamer. Oh.
Yeah.
It sounds like this movie is for him. It must be something that's just for him.
Yeah, I like Gerard Butler as an actor, but man, that movie was just like, oof.
Yeah, it's not great. And that's a whole other conversation about A, movies representation of video games, and B, movies adapted from video games. Oof, we should have a conversation about that, because that shit is deep.
No. Oh no, wait, I was about to say Ready Player One. But I was like, that's not a video game yet.
Every episode. That's our new Fortnite. I'll give up on not wanting to say Fortnite every single week and it's still popping up. But you and Ready Player One being the near future is probably our new number one.
No. I'm
most quotable Eric line.
Yeah. I'm all about that.
Get it on a t-shirt.
I'm all about that future. All about.
You're all about that what? That
I'm all about that VR future. All about it.
Oh yeah, all about it. I love it. I'm on board completely. I feel like VR to me is like the Switch. That's not gonna make any sense at all. Let me explain. VR to me is like the Switch because I haven't yet seen one thing on VR that I'm like, I have to have that.
It'll get there,
and it justifies the cost. Yeah, it'll absolutely get there. That's why I wanted to preempt it by like.
And there was one thing.
I don't mean it in a bad way. I just mean like so far, there's like one or two things that seem interesting, but it hasn't sold me on like a $300 peripheral yet.
Right. I think, and that's one thing we didn't touch on in the news is NVIDIA's press conference, which I think got the most play out of any of them. Which
sure, I still haven't watched the footage the footage they
which is, if you're not into that type of stuff, and he goes, the CEO of NVIDIA did the whole presentation, and he's he's the guy who founded the company. He's still the guy who runs the company, and he's very much he is a super geek, and he spends the first 45 minutes talking about light theory in processing and what it is. And it was awesome.
That dude loves the science.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable nerd, the chat's saying. But he's awesome, and you could tell he's passionate about it. I mean, he came out in a leather jacket. It was, and not like a leather jacket from like the 90s, like something Axl Rose would have worn.
Oh, gross.
Which is awesome. But he talked about it, and then he unveiled this chip, or he unveiled the new card, right? And he started talking about this chip that they built, and this thing literally in one section of this chip has 10 times the power of the 1080 Ti, which is the most powerful graphics card on the planet right now. So I think we're going to see with that type of capability, we're going to see VR. And once the next set of Oculus comes out, I think we're going to start seeing these worlds. And that's where VR competition takes a little bit of a step back. But I think also I look at VR as a way for, the vast majority of, this is a little bit very optimistic of me, not a little bit, but I see VR as a way for everyone to exercise, because now all of a sudden you take video games from being a static exercise, a static thing,
just sit around and do stuff,
to a full body motion thing, everything. No, I know. I'm not getting my hopes up, Stewie. I know it's your realm.
RIP Kinect.
Yeah, well, RIP Kinect was something that should have been said the second the idea came up.
So, man, we're really good at tangents. We should just change Bounty Board into
tangent board.
Tangent board, yeah. I believe it or not, while you've been talking, I've been trying to figure out the answers to the question I asked you.
Yeah, see, not that easy.
No, it's not. I don't know why I came up with it. Normally, when a person they want you to hear the answer, and I did not do that this time. I'm just like, wait, I don't know how to. Yeah, it's interesting. There's God, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, good night, everybody.
That's it, guys. That's the end of the podcast.
Tip your wait staff. We'll be here all week.
Yeah. I think to answer the second question, because that's the only one I kind of have a setup for. I think you're right in that crowd participation is a big deal. I think the number one thing, though, and I know I probably said that crowd participation is like the number one, but I think the actual number one thing is gotta be a way to figure out a perfect synergy between complexity and what's going on without alienating an uninformed audience, right? Like I can take someone to a St. Louis Cardinals game who's never watched baseball. And in the first 3 outs of the first inning, I can normally talk them through just about everything that's going to happen for the next 2.5 hours, right? And then they can follow along and ask a couple questions. Overwatch is like sitting down the entire time, not knowing what's going on, asking what's going on to the person next to you, and then being like, it's Overwatch, and then you having to do the rest of it on your own. It's just so much. And I think it's important that esports find a way to or games find a way, if they are looking into being an esport, I think it's important they find a way to.
I'm just laughing at the chat.
Oh, someone booed at me for being a Cardinals fan. Oh well. They're kicking everyone's ass, so suck a dick.
Yikes! That escalated quickly.
I almost said break your dick off, which is way worse.
Way worse.
But I said it anyway. So
yikes.
No, fuck, I forgot what I was talking about.
No, I think.
Damn it.
You were making it. You no, that's not better.
Oh, he's a Cubs fan. I can peacefully disagree with you. Not everyone's perfect. Sorry. Moving on.
I'm an Orioles fan, so I'm really fucked.
Why? You live in Texas? Is it a color scheme thing?
I grew up in Baltimore.
Oh, well, that makes sense. That's literally the only way it would have made sense. Yep. I should have thought about that. Anyway,
I'm also a Ravens fan. So
that makes sense.
Anyway,
brand loyalty in this guy.
I think the point you're making is that I think that's I think the audience interaction piece is I am also a fan of Oreos. I think the interaction piece is how you get over that, right? If you've got a device in your hand and you're able to get some sort of explanation or real-time announcing or something like that, you're going to be much more inclined to like hang out with it and stick with it because you're able to interact, right? Like, I don't watch that Shazam show because I enjoy it. I mean,
watch it because your wife tells you to.
No, I watch it because I watch it because it's something we can watch with the kids, right? Jamie Foxx is, I think, he's entertaining as shit.
He's a great guy.
But
I said that like I know him.
Yeah,
I don't. He seems like a great guy.
Hey, Jamie, let me give you a call real quick.
Someday.
That would be amazing if somehow he tweeted at us. Never mind. Let's not go there.
You knock on wood because he was going to until you said something about
it. I know, right? I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting to hear from Chris Pratt for my son's birthday next weekend.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
But I think that's how you bridge that gap for the people who don't understand necessarily what's going on, is with that interactivity, giving them a way to get into the hype, gives them something to connect with the person they're next to that's totally into it, when they can sit there and they can say, okay, here's this really simple user experience where I'm able to interact and do something. You know, one thing, and I know we're getting close to time, but one thing we have yet to touch on here, which I think is a big part of this, is all of the more scandalous shit around esports. Not necessarily scandalous, right? Because when there's
are you meaning like microtrans and stuff?
No,
like
not
that?
microtransaction. I mean like the gambling, right? The skin trade and the skin trade. That sounded really bad. The skin trading.
Yeah, dude. I was like, wait, skin trade. Hold on. How did we get here?
The skin trading, the item selling, and the stuff like that, where you've got these CSO guys, the Counter-Strike guys who are auctioning shit off and stuff like that. I think that's a really interesting gambling websites that get sued. They get shut down all the time because whenever there's an esports competition, you can go to a bookie and place a bet even now on like League of Legends competitions, Smite competitions, Counter-Strike, any place there's a bet. I think that's going back to my earlier point where this is opening up a world where and I'm not, open up a bunch of, the people who are not yet green or not yet wise to the ways of the world, where they're just sitting there with their parents' credit cards, not understanding what they're doing.
Yeah, that's no good.
All of a sudden losing their ass off because they chose, their favorite sports team is they're so damn loyal to, because somebody liked one of their tweets. Now they've lost their parents' house.
Yeah.
I wasn't really looking for reaction there. It's just talking.
No, you're good.
React if you want to.
No, I was gonna carry on, and then I was thirsty, and I thought you'd keep going, and then you fucking stopped dead at the end of your point, and I was like, oh, I'm currently in the middle of.
Yep.
I'm essentially that kid that decided to fart because the music was loud and the music skipped right when I farted. That's just my life, basically.
Phenomenal.
So what do you think the future, just to kind of wrap up the conversation, what do you think the future of esports Maybe not is going to look like, because you're not a prophet unless you are, and if you are, don't tell me. I don't want to ruin your gifts. I don't know how that works.
You get 3 wishes.
What? Wait, hold on. Prophets grant 3 wishes. What the fuck are genies then?
Questions. You get 3 questions.
Oh, I thought you said wishes. I was like, dude, that's. Hold on, you got your mythology mixed up.
I did, and then I realized what I had done.
Oh, okay, that's good. It's always good to realize when you've screwed up and to fix it yourself.
Yep. Awkward pause. Continue.
No, a lot of people in America need to figure out how to do that. What was I saying? Because we talked about 3 separate things in our little digression, and now I'm trying to come.
You were talking about what the future holds, I think, for esports. Not
oh, yeah. So don't try to predict the future. What do you think we need to see out of esports moving forward? Even the ones that exist. Like the last question was like, how would you build one? Don't suggest like what they do to fix it. To fix new games coming out. What do you think that games like Dota and Overwatch and League of Legends, games that typically have a more niche, more hardcore audience, how do those games appeal to the wider public? Or is it an issue of just like those games are always going to be niche games and big esports games just have to be different?
Yeah, I think those games, it's the same as with real sports, right? You've got people who only watch soccer, football, right? And they could give 2 shits less about anything, right? Those people
literally anything else.
Yeah, those people are always going to pay attention to that sport and that sport alone, no matter how you do it, right? So I think esports needs to find their true market share in how they're communicating what their specific genre of esport is. And I think the biggest thing is dropping the moniker esport is the biggest thing.
That I don't know how
is going to move it into that realm, because
sure.
And we didn't touch on this much, and I think this is a great way to wrap up, is there's a lot of debate on, is this an actual sport? And I'm firmly in the camp of, you're damn right it is. Because
sure.
The people that compete at this level, they have a commitment and a dedication to their craft that, they're not going out and throwing a tire over a car and lifting 500 pounds and pushing people around or, working on their jump shot, but they're in the game all day, every day. And you watch these guys who are professionals that stream on Twitch and they do scrims. They know every single angle of every single map of every single thing, no matter what they're doing. They understand the meta. They, going to MOBAs, they understand that, they understand that if I get this set of gear, the exact equation in their head on how much damage they're going to do, how much damage they're going to ward off, the damage that they're going to do to the enemy, and what every buff is of every piece of gear in every game, or every angle of every map for every shooter. And all of it, which is, I think, absolutely qualifies as being a sport. Not only that, but you're starting to get legitimization of this from, I met a kid who lives literally down the street from me on a flight to Chicago the last time I was up, who is starting an esports team at one of the high schools, right?
That's dope.
Because there's an organization in Austin that will start esports teams for you, or help you start an esports teams at your school. You've got Division I colleges giving these kids scholarships to come and play games.
Defeated. I'm defeated, Eric. I'm defeated. What? Did you say anything? Or did you just pause?
No, I was sneezing. I don't know if you were looking at the screen. Like, that was an epic.
I just saw it. Just saw it.
I might need I might need a cigarette after that. I'll be right back. I gotta go take.
Bless you. Real quick.
Every single vertebrae in my back just opened up and popped. I have my.
That sounds really nice.
On the right side of my shoulder, I had when I was in 8th grade. I had a really nasty body check come across, and it was a cross check right into my ribs, and it cracked my shoulder blade and 2 of my ribs over here. So they float. So whenever I sneeze like that, it just, my whole back opens up, and it is, for lack,
sure.
it's orgasmic. It just really is.
I think I need a cigarette.
Yeah, but like I was saying, is I think it's
I just snorted, son of a bitch.
It's not better.
Sorry, go on.
But I think it's the rise of, it's twofold, right? It's getting those, staying in their lanes and marketing better in their lanes, and making sure that, you know, that what it is. It's audience interactivity, right? Bringing the audience, giving them more ways to be part of, you know, what it is, whether that's experiences like the NFL experience or shit like that. And then making sure that the athletes that these guys are, they're not athletes in the traditional sense of, you know, they're lifting weights and pushing guys around, like I was saying, but they're athletes in the sense that the dedication to their craft is Olympian, right? I mean, these guys are countless hours every day, guys and girls are countless hours every day, honing their craft and becoming the absolute best that they can, formulating strategies, and they breathe this shit. And I think that's the biggest thing, going back to my original statement, is dropping the esports off of it and just making them sports is the biggest thing, because I think that draws a negative line. The second you hear esports, it goes into the realm of your mindset. If you're somebody on the outside that is interested in this topic, you're already not looking at it as real. You're already looking at it as, shit, this doesn't matter.
Yeah. Man, we did a lot of talking about a lot of stuff.
We did.
We danced around a bit. Esports are interesting, man. There's a lot of stuff that like could be fixed. There's a lot of stuff that may be beyond fixing. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that's like, yo, we're so close to being able to just have this on TV. So you turn on the TV and you've got an esport on it, right?
It's already on. I mean, it's already on TV.
It's already starting to happen. I know. Yeah, I know. But I mean, like, more widespread. I think it's on the verge of just being like a thing. You turn on the TV this night to see this team on this game or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, I think esports need to start. So this is almost specifically in reference to OWL, the Overwatch League.
I roll.
Sorry, my phone just vibrated. That sucks.
Oh, I thought you were that kid that farted when the music got quiet. That's what I thought it was. Anyway,
that's what it was. No. Oh my God, what was I talking about?
Words.
Why am I so absent-brained right now?
I don't know.
Jeepers Christ! What was I saying?
No,
Do you remember what I was saying?
No, sorry.
No, hit the rewind button.
It's gone.
Chat, tell me what I was just talking about. Please tell me someone in chat was paying attention.
It was, you were closing it out with, you know, what you think, where you think esports should go, based on my comment of they need to drop the E. Yikes! You got a lot of editing to do on this one.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. Like I said, I'm moving, so my brain is as compartmentalized as all these boxes. Yeah, so I don't know, man. There's esports are just, they're so close. They're so close. And I don't know exactly what it's going to take for them to hit that moment where, you know, you don't see Colin Cowherd on ESPN being like, if they make me cover this, I quit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know if it's generational. I don't know if, because, you know, every sport had to have people when it started that was like, they're just throwing a ball and hitting it with a stick, or they're just throwing a ball and running into each other. Or they're throwing a ball into a basket. Like, all that stuff is kind of dumb. But as time has progressed, it's become more complex. And now there's people that podcast every day, have radio shows every day, and all they do is talk sports.
Yeah, and like, I think you said it right. It's a cultural thing, right? As this generation of kids starts to grow up and these opportunities present themselves,
Yeah.
We're going to see innovation in the industry. We're going to see people coming up with new ideas, new ways to do things. We're going to see people coming out of college, you know, who have these ideas on how to run this stuff, who their entire life has been dedicated. You know, they've had, I didn't have gaming. I was of the generation that the one of the last generations that did not have consoles their entire lives, right? Or a gaming machine their entire lives. You're right. When I was born, the Nintendo wasn't even a thing. The Atari was around, but that was looked at as a oh, look at this little, oh, there's dots on the screen. And then Nintendo kind of jumped that gap, and it wasn't until I think the original Xbox and the PlayStation 2 where this really started. You saw the, radio visual, you saw the, the curve kind of go like this, and then you saw it start to go up again. And then with every year and every launch cycle, it's become more and more and more. And now that you've got phones and you've got a thing in your hand that can produce graphics better than that original generation of consoles, even the second or third generation of consoles, the iPhone, the Android devices, the iPads, the tablets are capable of more powerful graphics.
Yeah.
Those kids are now going to grow up. They're going to start entering the industry, and we're going to see a lot of innovation. And we're going to start seeing that old mentality get wiped out, and just phased out of.
I love just wiped off the face.
Wiped off the face.
Just getting wiped off the face, man.
That old mentality of, oh shit, well, these people are. This is obviously not a sport. Where these kids are growing up and this is all they know. And I'll point at that Jace Hall thing again, and I have to find it and send it to you, where he's talking about just because your kid's playing video games is not mean they're going to grow up and just play video games. It may spark a love of something such as art design, development, production, business sense in that industry. Yeah.
Look at us. Like we're part of the vanguard. Right. And I don't even know if that's completely accurate, but I think it's pretty close. Like, I think people that are playing games now that are between the ages of 26 and 36 are people that are the first stage of that. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, we're the first living proof for parents that bought their kids a Genesis that playing games doesn't mean melting your brain, rotting your brain, or whatever, whatever doctors used to tell their the parents that came in that be careful, this game's like that. We're the first generation of proof that that's not true. The fact that the game journalism industry is as big and as respectable as it is now, right? The fact that game studios are as big as they are, the fact that games are getting onto ESPN the way they are, and then specifically me and you, right? Just two guys that have been playing games for 20 years, and now we're trying to make something out of it by podcasting about it and by writing about it. Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right. My daughter, even my brother, who's 18, who's almost 10 years younger than me, hasn't had a console his whole life. Mm-hmm. Because he was born in 2000, so his first 5 years, 6 years of his life, there were systems probably around, but my daughter, and I imagine as just the same, your kids, were born into a home that had a console, and it's just a part of life for them. So it's not gonna be. I'm just a long form agreeing with.
It's not even that, right? And this will be my final thought until we move into the wrap up. It's both of my kids have iPads, right? And both of my kids are now learning through gaming. A specific example of this is my son, who is beyond obsessed with dinosaurs. At 4 years old in 2 weeks, now he can name every dinosaur by sight, and not, oh, that's a T-Rex. He can flat out say that's a Tyrannosaurus, and he can pronounce dinosaurs that I have no idea how to pronounce their names.
That's awesome.
And he's going to be 4 in 2 weeks, right? So my point,
you just said that.
Yeah, callback to 30 seconds ago. The other thing is he wanted to play the Lego Jurassic World game, so we got it for him on his iPad. That's a game that is way above his age range as far as what it says, but he is figured it out with very little help from us, the controls, how to play the game. He's solving the puzzles. So that's my point. My kids are not the exception. They're kind of the rule. Like all kids. And that's where they're going to be the first generation of kids that are device agnostic when it comes to gaming. My daughter, whenever she tries to play Xbox with me, does not like the way the controller feels because it's not as intuitive to her as actually physically moving and touching, which is where their generation is going to go. They're going to be a generation of kids who grow up where tactile feedback and responsiveness and control is based on what they can do with their fingers and their hands versus the two sticks and your thumbs or the keys on a keyboard.
Yep. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing. It's amazing how fast young people, young children pick up technology.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, watching a full adult struggle with figuring out how to unlock their phone and then watching my daughter like swipe across the phone and then hit the home button and then type in numbers that she doesn't even know are numbers.
Yep. She knows the pattern.
Yeah. She's figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And she doesn't remember the code. I don't think I've ever like used the code at home, right? Because I can use my fingerprint. But the fact that like she's less than 2 years old and she can pick up a device and just like, oh, this is how I scroll. This is how, like, that's weird. Assassin's Creed is true, is what I'm trying to say. Ancestral DNA memories are real.
That Steve Jobs guy, he was pretty good. R.I.P.
Yeah. Who would have known that like 10 years after the first iPhone, like we're legitimately in a place where games are everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And he had like nothing to do with games.
Yep.
It's a shame to me that Apple didn't start making games. They almost did, right? Halo was almost an Apple exclusive.
Oh.
Right? Can you imagine?
No. What a different world this would be.
It would be 1984.
No, not even that. I don't think consoles would have had, because Halo the original Halo was the killer app that got everybody on the console bandwagon. Had that not come out, had Microsoft not made that purchase, who
knows how Microsoft launched?
Yeah,
how Xbox launches.
Looking back over the last 20 years, or last 18 years, I don't see another game that that has the impact culturally. Does without that first Halo game on a console, I don't think Call of Duty is the juggernaut that it is. I don't think you have games like Fortnite. I don't think you end up, and this is all, speculation, but I just,
sure.
It's just eerie to think, how fragile the space-time continuum is.
Yep. And like what you're saying now, the existence of Fortnite and PUBG and the existence of the Overwatch League are three, I think, pillars to what the tower of esports is building itself on.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
And I remember, I don't know if you remember, as soon as PUBG came out, and this may have been a conversation I just had with friends that I don't play Xbox with. But as soon as PUBG came out, I was like, yo, like, this could be like a show. I would watch a show about this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would watch give it a regular sports season, however you want to figure that out. Because I don't know if PUBG works specifically for like matches. But if you were to like draw a game out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over time, because what do those games take? Like 40 minutes?
Yep.
And just follow groups all over the place. Like, I don't know, man. I think PUBG and Battle Royale modes lend themselves to esports in a way that people haven't tried yet.
Well, we'll see. We will see.
Yeah, we'll see. Man, I could literally just
we could just keep going.
Keep snowballing.
Yep.
Man. Yeah, the opportunities are endless right now, and it's exciting.
It is,
and it's a good time to be playing games. It's a good time to be talking, podcasting about games. It's a good time for a lot of things in the game world, and that's good.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry I brought up some bummer political stuff. It's actually pretty great right now because
I don't think
people care.
I don't think it's bummer. I think it's part of the conversation, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we went a little bit over. That's fine. Like I said, or like you've noticed, I'm sure my brain's scrambled, so I apologize for that. Today was a busy day, so my bounty for the week is going to be a little bit interesting. Rather than just talking about games that I'm playing, because I'm not playing much different right now. I started Invisible Inc. on PlayStation 4 because it was a game with it wasn't a game with gold. It was a PlayStation Plus free title.
Mm-hmm.
If you've played XCOM, it's like XCOM but like espionage.
Right.
It's really great. The art style is fantastic. Check it out. It's called Invisible Inc. INC, like incorporated. I'm having a lot of fun. It's stressful, which I realize how much I love in games because, like, we play PUBG like crazy, and then here's strategy based tactics games. But the other thing is, and this is fun stuff for anybody listening, and for you, Eric, because I didn't tell any of our friends this.
Uh-oh.
I interviewed at a game studio this morning.
Ooh.
Yeah. So there's a game studio in St. Louis that is making instructive games that teach kids how to make their own games and then play them on their iPad. So hey, if this ends up happening, Eric, I have an purchase.
There we go.
But yeah, I went in and today, and they wanna have me back in next week. So
fantastic. Well, let's not say
my
anymore.
bounty for the week is just moving on. What's up?
Let's not say anymore. We don't want to jinx anything.
Yeah, I won't say anything else.
Let's leave it there.
Yeah, that's my bounty for the week. Eric, what do you want to share with people?
What was the name of the studio, real quick?
The studio's name is
No.
Not doing it. I wasn't gonna do it. You were like, no.
I was like, no. End stream. Stop recording. Done.
Oh man, your reaction was so good.
No. My bounty for the week is actually you guys convinced me to download Battlefield 4 and play that. So I
forgot about that.
I actually enjoyed the shit out of that. I wish the servers were just a little bit more populated because as fun as Conquest is, it is not my style of play. I much prefer Rush.
We should try some Rush tonight. See if we can get a couple games.
The Rush game mode. But I forgot that game actually holds up.
It does.
I mean, it holds up.
I really think it does
really well.
It's still smooth. It's still
it was
mechanically sound.
The thing that still amazes me about that game is just the sheer volume of maps. I think
what was the number Ben said last night? 33?
33 maps.
Fuck me.
And if you think about the scale of every one of those maps, right? I mean, they're not little endeavors. I mean,
they're not 33 Call of Duty maps.
No, they are giant landscapes
it's like 90 Call of Duty maps.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And then just I always enjoy the stat tracking in there's something about the Battlefield franchise I really like when you get the ribbons they pop up and then the medals as they pop up when you're playing. You get that sweet headshot and then it's like sniper ribbon, headshot ribbon, sniper ribbon, headshot ribbon.
Yeah, or like the score when it's like 100 for a kill, 134 for range, 50 for headshot.
Yeah, it's just, there's something uniquely satisfying about each kill in that game. And then I liked watching how quickly in the upper right-hand corner my division rank jumped back up as we were playing last night.
Based on,
I went from starting in the first Conquest match to Division 1. I was in Division 8 Texas and ended up in Division 1 Texas. last night, so I was really happy with that. Anyway,
I forgot about Battlefield 4. We've been having a lot of fun with that.
Yep.
I will say, if you didn't play Battlefield 4 before, be prepared for a tough learning curve.
Yep.
It's not that the game is hard to master because it's a shooter, but boy, have we encountered some people that just have never stopped playing Battlefield 4
ever. ever.
Couple of games we got fucking stomped by guys that like just didn't die. Yep. They just flew a helicopter around the entire game.
Yeah, which I don't know how that's fun, but teach their own.
Yeah, that's a good point. That would get boring real fast. Yeah. But to each his own. Exactly what you said.
Yeah, I'm not a pilot by any means.
No. And for the record, every time Ben hops in a fucking plane while we're trying to push a point, I'm like, great. Thanks for the help.
Yep. Well, until he gets the plane there and, carpet bombs the whole area. But I digress.
Yeah. Man, Battlefield's great.
It is.
And I'm looking forward to Battlefield 5.
Yes. Very much
Don't worry about the lack of hype that people are saying it has and lack of pre-orders. I have a feeling that this is a Battlefield that's going to come out. People are going to get their hands on, and it's going to blow people away.
Yep. We'll talk about that later.
Thanks so much, guys, for listening. Sorry that it's been a little scatterbrained. My day has been crazy, as I just spoke about. And, it's just sometimes you have weeks that aren't perfect.
Truth.
It's truth. But my name is Caleb. You can find me everywhere it matters as Lubwub, LUBWUB. Send me a friend request on Xbox if you want. I'll play some games, or on PlayStation. We'll play something. Eric, where can people hunt you down and find you in the social space?
At the at Hybridglass /Hybridglass, everywhere. And then hopefully here in the next week or two, we will have some new branding around our faces and our channel.
Very nice.
I've got a buddy of mine redoing some of my overlays and whatnot. Cool. He's just doing the PSDs, and then I'm gonna animate on top of them, just because I don't have time to do all of the graphic design these days. So I gave him the idea, and he's running with it. So I'm excited.
Nice.
Some early mock-ups, so it'll be fun.
Cool. And we're gonna start experimenting with those next week, you said?
Hopefully. We shall see.
Cool.
It's all dependent on his. I'm not unhappy with my overlays. I just am itching for something a little bit cleaner, a little bit version 2.0, if you will.
Yeah, a little bit of 2.0. Mm-hmm. Next week, there's a good chance that we're going to talk about VR and bring our buddy in. There's also a chance we might have a fourth guest.
Ooh.
Yeah, unannounced. I'm working on that, and we'll see how that works out. I will also be recording from a new location.
Oh, is this a legitimate guest?
It's not like a big guest.
Got to start somewhere.
But it is a friend of mine that does work at a game studio and has worked on games for the last couple of years.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, I think it'd be good to have a couple people come in to talk. Or myself are super experienced with it. So yeah, look forward to next week, because we've got some cool stuff brewing, and my camera feed will show a different background because I'll be in a different place.
My camera feed will not show a different background. I might angle the camera differently, but it'll be here.
Cool.
That's all I got.
It's all right.
Take us home.
It's late. Thanks so much, guys, for listening. Check us next week. Listen to the podcast when it comes out on iTunes, Stitcher, and a bunch of other ones on Monday. They are coming out on Monday at 11. That way you can start your week with our sweet, dulcet tones.
Yes.
But thanks so much, guys, and we'll both catch you next week.
Later.
Peace.
Fast step.
I just realized I couldn't hear my music, and I was like, what the hell's going on? And then I realized that I lost it. Thank you, Mr. Skiwi. I appreciate you hanging out as always. Yeah, so I'm gonna need another invite to your Discord server there, Skiwi, because I don't know what happened, but somehow I got logged out on the desktop app and I forgot my password, so I went to reset it. And then I went to my two-factor authentication app and somehow they got out of sync and I lost my backup codes. So the only way around that after dealing with Discord support is you have to create a new account, which was awesome. So I've got a new account, same name, different 4-digit code. I'm just waiting for them to confirm what's going to happen with my, if they could do anything with my Nitro subscription, because I paid for a year and I don't want to pay for another year because that's ridiculous. So anyway, I learned that you can transfer ownership of servers. So I'm going to transfer the ownership of mine to the new account. But anyway, it was I was really kind of freaking out when it happened, because I was like, oh my god, I just lost all of my connections and all of the servers and everything else, and I was just like, oh man. I was like, oh my goodness. I'm like tied in all these wires here. I really need to invest in a wireless set of headphones. I thinks that's what me needs to do. Yes, sir. In a wireless set of headphones, do you agree with that? I agree with that too. Now we just have to get the wife on board. Now we just have to get the wife on board. Do. Yeah, I've looked at a couple of the Steel series. They look pretty good. Did you find my new Oh, DM. Twitter DM. Oh, yeah, those are nice, dude. I like them. Oh, yeah, good call. I didn't even think of that. You're so smart, Skiwi. You're so smart. I really want to play. So I'm just gonna go do this. I wish I could get to a heart. Is there? I wish I could get. I still love, like, a lot of people complain about the server. Browse. I love the server browse. Sort by players. No. Why can't I sort by game? Oh, here we go. Filter. See, I wish there was a. The thing I like about Rush is you get or the thing I guess I dislike about Conquest is you get people who are just sitting around doing nothing. Where Rush is very much you're rushing. You've got to attack and defend. Oh, there is a guy. Oh my goodness. Well, Rush is kind of very much like Team Deathmatch, right? It's just a little bit more objective. I don't like that scope at all. Oh. Can't hear game sounds. Well, that means I'm going to have to That's annoying. I don't know what to do without ending the stream and restarting it. No, yeah, all I did was switch scenes.
There.
Yo.
Yep. Man, I'm really fucking bummed.
Why's that?
I feel fucking awful for how bad I podcasted tonight.
No, you're great.
Just like I was in the middle of making.
I'll be right back, guys.